Concerns around security and geopolitics intensified at the end of last year as the Houthis began targeting vessels in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden under the cover of a show of support for Hamas. Adding to the deteriorating situation was the resurgence in Somali piracy, as some actors sought to take advantage of the chaos. Since November, we've seen nearly 90 incidents related to the Red Sea crisis and multiple piracy incidents, including hijackings in the Somali basin, and an uptick in events that could potentially become piracy attacks. This is all happening with various naval operations working around the clock to defend merchant shipping and uphold the freedom of navigation. I'm Bridget Diakun, maritime risk analyst at Lloyd's List Intelligence, and this week on the Lloyd's List podcast, we ask, can navies protect shipping? Significant resources have been deployed in response to the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea, yet transits through the Bab el Mandeb are consistently down 60% on normal volumes, and ships are repeatedly coming under fire. Mike Plunkett, a senior naval platforms analyst at Janes, says we've reached a stalemate in the Red Sea.
It is a stalemate in that traffic is still going through the Red Sea, albeit at a greatly reduced rate, and the Houthis are still throwing weapons at random targets in the region. However, I would say that the naval presence there has been effective. They have stopped a lot of attacks. The Houthis have had their successes. They have not been that great, and I would venture that if there had been no naval presence there, they would have had a lot more success, and you would probably have no traffic going through the Red Sea, or very, very little going through the Red Sea now.
Shipping needs navies. The fact of the matter is that even with private security teams on board, commercial ships are largely unable to defend against the weapons that the Houthis deploy. But it's not just physical protection. For shipping to be able to conduct threat and risk assessments and make security-related decisions, they need accurate information and insight. I spoke with Commander Knut Evensen from the Royal Norwegian Navy, who is part of the Joint Maritime Information Centre's core team. JMIC was established to support the shipping industry with the challenges faced when operating in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. It is an international and joint effort that includes many different stakeholders, including Operation Prosperity Guardian, the UK Maritime Trade Operations, and US Naval Forces Central Command.
So when an incident occurs, JMIC aggregates information typically within 24 hours after the incident. And along, we have immediate advice and guidances. And we produce weekly dashboards that summarize and analyze recent incidents and provide other relevant maritime information. So all the JMIC products are factual, based on the ground truth. That's the intention anyway. And actually we have a quite clear mission in JMIC, and it's split in two. The first part is to provide accurate and factual incident information. The second part is to provide clear and concise updates and guidance. And we aim to be the single source of information and represent the ground truth.
The shipping community that have withdrawn from Red Sea business or have rerouted around the Cape of Good Hope are wondering how they will know and who will tell them that it is safe to return to the Red Sea and to Bab el Mandeb transits. Those hoping for an obvious thumbs up may be disappointed, as JMIC says that while it will provide information on the security environment, it is not a JMIC decision to make, and it's ultimately up to the ship owner.
In general, different companies has different appetite for taking risk or their willingness of risk exposure. But they make their decisions and risk assessment. But JMIC's role, that's to provide accurate and factual incident information for the maritime industry and also to give updates and guidance. If and when that potentially leads to merchant shipping returning to BAM transits, that is solely a company decision and not a JMIC decision.
The shipping industry can certainly benefit from relationships with military bodies and operations. But importantly, the navies also need shipping, specifically the data and information they collect during incidents. We come to Antonio Martorell Dominguez, a Spanish Navy officer who works as a shipping advisor and JOC coordinator for EU NAVFOR Atalanta. EU NAVFOR Atalanta, also known as Operation Atalanta, is an EU-led military operation that was set up in 2008 in the wake of a piracy crisis to maintain safety and security in the Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, and Western Indian Ocean. The operation also addresses illegal, unreported, and undocumented fishing, as well as keeping an eye on weapons smuggling and drug trafficking.
Well, the relationship between military operations like UNAFOR Atalanta and the shipping industry is crucial and has become more significant over time, because this partnership ensures maritime security by helping us understand the challenges and vulnerabilities that the shipping industry is facing. So it helps us, by knowing this data, it helps us to elaborate more effective counter-piracy strategies, for example. For instance, best management practices and regular incident reporting help us deploy our resources more effectively. On the other hand, the protection of seafarers is also paramount, and through timely intelligence and support communication systems like MCHOA or Mercury communication system also help us to better deploy our resources and protect seafarers.
Commercial shipping helps militaries understand maritime security. Navies help protect vessels and support in decision-making and threat assessments. But the two don't come together all that often, which can make building relationships and understanding one another more difficult. I asked Mike Plunkett about whether or not he thought commercial shipping has a good understanding of military operations and security challenges, and here's what he had to say.
No, and I would say it's also vice versa, because in sort of normal peacetime operations, they try and stay as far away from each other as possible, because each will view the other as just getting in the way. Navies will just see them as being lumbering hulks that get in the way. The merchantmen in turn will say the navies are trying to make them do things they don't want to do. So they only tend to come together when there's a crisis, and typically that's when the merchant ships need defending, or when navies need to appropriate merchant ships because they haven't got enough capacity of their own to carry stuff around. And so I think it's only then that they start realizing the challenges of each other's worlds, and there is not any sort of long-term engagement between the two when it's not necessary. I think it's probably fair to say that both sides would benefit from more engagement between them. Whether that'll happen or not, I don't know.
Operation Atalanta has the benefit of a long-standing presence in its operational area, which has allowed it to formalize the relationship with shipping, making it more structured and also improving dialogue and communication. But still, Atalanta recognizes there's more work that can be done.
There's still a need for improvement, for sure. And while we've made significant progress in communication and collaboration, the challenges remain, as you say. So we have the MCHOA website or the Mercury platform that have really enhanced real-time info sharing, but there is still a need for a more unified and streamlined communication channel, as you mentioned. We as UNAFOR Atalanta, as a maritime security provider, we're only able to offer support as long as we are aware of a vessel's position, thanks to the registration of the vessel in the MCHOA website. That's why we encourage vessels to register. It's free and they have a lot of benefits. But I understand it can be complex due to many other agencies and entities doing the same job. So to facilitate this process, we're working in alignment with other entities on the shipping industry in order to simplify this reporting and registration procedure through a unified reporting format. Apart from simplifying this reporting and registration process through a unique reporting format, it's also important to mention the data sharing and the transparency of the information, because ship operators, shipping companies, they are asked to voluntarily provide extensive data, and sometimes they hesitate to do so because they have concerns about where the information is going and who has access to this information, and I totally understand. So building transparency around these topics, around data access and data usage, would really foster better trust and communication and collaboration with the industry. And not only that, but also consultation with shipping industry representatives before issuing any guidance would really help in avoiding, for example, a commercial impact, and ensuring that the protection measures we're proposing to the industry are effective and practical.
Fraudulent transactions within the global trade financing market contribute to an estimated cost of $5 billion each year in total business disruption, according to the International Chamber of Commerce. Lloyd's List Intelligence, through our unique Sea Searcher Trade Risk solution, provides a comprehensive suite designed to mitigate trade-based money laundering risks in trade finance. By integrating dual-use goods check and price verification into its due diligence processes through advanced screening tools and real-time data verification, Sea Searcher Trade Risk helps financial institutions safeguard against fraud and ensure compliance with international regulations. For more information on Sea Searcher Trade Risk and to book a trial, visit lloydslistintelligence.com or follow the link in the podcast description.
The need for alignment and a more unified approach when it comes to naval operations engagement with commercial shipping was reiterated both by Operation Atalanta and JMIC.
I mean, as our name indicates, JMIC, that's Joint Maritime Information Center. Joint is to emphasize here. This means that JMIC, we meet regularly with other maritime stakeholders in the region. So it's a joint effort, and all together we are collaborating on, or we have an operating model that focuses on collaboration. And all of us, we are in general committed to the ambition of representing one voice towards the industry. And that's important because there are many stakeholders, there are many different angles and views, and the shipping and maritime industry has often given us military feedback that there are so many actors here. There are so many places to report, and there are different messages. So the JMIC, we're trying to be the hub and aligning all the maritime stakeholders so we have one voice towards the industry. That's important.
Another problem naval operations face is the sheer fragmentation of the shipping industry, which can make it difficult to connect with the smaller players.
Yeah, smaller shipping companies, they may lack the understanding and resources as the larger counterparts. So they may lack the infrastructure which is needed in order to implement advanced maritime security measures, I would say. So we need to bridge this gap and have the smaller companies as a target to reach to, and training them and make them aware. So this is one of the gaps we also trying to close. Probably, yes, targeting not only the bigger companies, but also maybe inviting them to these forums and workshops, and not only the big shipping associations, but also having the smaller ones into account. This was one of the topics that was discussed in the last industry meeting, who were still dealing on how to better improve and better close this gap.
Like any relationship, the relationship between navies or naval operations and commercial shipping comes down to the effort that each side puts in. And at a time where it's looking like things are going to get worse in the maritime security domain before they get better, that proactive and ongoing engagement will be critical. That's where we'll leave it this week, but if you want more from Lloyd's List, then you can listen to our entire back catalogue on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the Lloyd's List website. We'll be back next week for more stories that are shaping shipping. But for now, thanks for listening and take care. Bye.